Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Dutchmen Discussions for episode 5. I'm Mike Freeman, Director of Athletic Communications, and today's guest is LVC's head cross country coach and assistant track and field coach, James O'Brien. We'll be discussing the team's very successful 2019 fall season, Carrie Jones and Lauren Wick's trip to the NCAAs, and we'll talk about recruiting and a look ahead to this upcoming season, as well as the MAC's recent fall 2020 update. So we hope you enjoy head LVC cross-country coach, James O'Brien. All right, we now welcome on LVC cross-country head coach and assistant track and field coach, James O'Brien. James, it's great to see you. How's everything going? How have you been these last few months?
Hey, Mike, good to see you too. Things have honestly been different for sure. Some of that's been good. Some of that's been, different and bad, certainly out of the norm, but everybody's has to deal with something in their own life, right? None of us have not been impacted by this. That was bad English. We've all been impacted by this in some way. So just kind of, trying to go with the flow as best as we can, for sure.
Yeah, that's for sure. So I want to talk about last season first, and we'll kind of move ahead to this fall. So last season, particularly on the women's side, you guys, this is one of the best seasons you've had in a long time, whether it was MACs or NCAAs. So can you just kind of talk about that season as a whole and, how do you think you guys, made that leap from the year before to having such a good season last year?
Sure. Our women's team has really been, a top 3 team in the MAC pretty much every year for the last 4 years. And that's been really exciting for us. 2 years ago, we actually had a very deep team and kind of our intent was to try to win the conference that year. And we did finish second, and we graduated a ton of people off that team 2 years ago. So in all honesty, coming into this past season, the 2019 season, I would say our expectations were a little bit lower because we graduated in the majority of our top 7. We just weren't sure where we were going to be. But very early on, we could kind of tell that our team was maybe better than I anticipated it was going to be right from our home meet. Kate was just solid for us the last couple of years. Carrie and Lauren seemed to kind of level up in terms of their fitness coming from the track season previously. So they came out of the gate swinging right away. Julia Brewer was an awesome surprise for us, and honestly is one of the most naturally gifted runners that I've ever had on the team. However, she was also open to exploring this new gift. She was just an awesome runner and teammate. She was the perfect person to kind of come in and be good at something right away, but she's so humble about it. So, right away we had this stellar top 4. And then we were able to do a good job as a program figuring out who our 5th runner was going to be. We had some younger people really step up well. So I would say last year we were kind of assembling a puzzle piece where we had some good pieces, assembling a puzzle. We had some good pieces there. We just needed to figure out, who was going to be the people contributing, how they were going to do that. So last year I would say everything was more of a surprise for us, where 2 years ago we were outright trying to win the conference, and Misericordia was able to hold us off. This past year, our conference was even deeper. There were 5 stellar teams on the women's side that were all capable of winning the conference on the right day. We were fortunate to come away with second again. And then, I was optimistic. Carrie had a good chance at qualifying for nationals, and Lauren too. But to get them both to qualify was truly special for us.
Yeah, I believe that was the first time you had 2 women from the same team go to NCAAs in the same year,
Yep.
correct?
Yeah. And just, only 7 people from our entire region of about 60 something schools get to go, and 5 of them were from our conference. So that just shows how, stellar our conference was last year. So it was really a special moment, and it was neat to kind of see the other competitors that we've, been running against all season, see how, they stack up. So everybody looks at the MAC and is like, all right, there's some really, really good runners here on the women's side for sure.
Yeah, it was a deep conference last year, that's for sure. Shifting to recruiting, has that changed at all for you, or did you already have a lot of your recruits wrapped up before the pandemic hit?
Yeah, I think we were starting to wrap things up as the pandemic was hitting. Usually early track season is when we hear from a lot of people. Men's recruiting went really well. Women's, we have some middle distance runners coming in, but maybe nobody, for the fall necessarily to be super impactful over cross country. But there's ebbs and flows in every year. I would say it's definitely been different working forward to our next recruiting class that we're working on. So, we can't really bring people on campus, at least for quality visits. So it's been a lot of phone calls. The good news is, though, kids have been home and available more. So I've, been on the phone nonstop with young people from high school. It's been really nice to connect with them. I think we've had more time to even get to know each other a little better. We've ramped up our social media a little bit just to make sure we're telling, we want recruits to be able to feel what it would be like to be a student athlete at LVC in cross country and track and field. So myself and Coach Byler have been working together, making sure that our content is, what we want people to be able to know about us. So those have been the main two differences. But over the summer, usually for distance runners, they're in season cross country, indoor and outdoor track. The summer is usually when we get to bring them to our beautiful campus and have them see everything. And that's just definitely different this year. Absolutely.
Yeah, we did Melissa's interview a few weeks ago, and she, I noticed it too, obviously, but the social media that you guys have been doing, when nobody can come to campus and see it, like you said, I think it's important to be able to at least show them on social media. And, these days all the recruits are on social media, practically 99% of them. So I think it's super important right now to have that kind of social media presence.
We want them to have a taste of what our personality is like, because I do think our teams have a unique personality. Our cross country and track and field teams, that's what we hope people can kind of gather from reading things, what our tone is like, what our work ethic is like, all those things that are really important to our team culture. Is not 100%, able to be gathered through looking at a screen, but I think we're coming as close as possible.
Yeah, you gotta kind of do the best with what you can these days. Mm-hmm. That's for sure. So now, came out last week, but the MAC has said that they plan to have a fall season this year in 2020. So what does, right now at this point in time, what does that look like for your team for the fall?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Preceding that announcement, we had a cross-country coaches call earlier in the week just to talk about, the rumor of MAC only, how our sport is a little different because we're not just one-on-one. So I don't know if I have the best answer to that question yet, right? I know as a coaching constituency, we're going to have to meet more and talk about, who can maybe host, when, to try to make sure we get on different courses, see different competition, but also follow the social distancing guidelines and making sure we're being intelligent. So I don't know exactly what that will look like. I know for sure that, the calendar that's online, if it's still there, that's not going to be accurate. So we need to figure out, who we're competing against when. What it boils down to me, though, is I think it gives us, some hope heading into the fall. My athletes are fortunate that the majority of them compete year-round, but they did have their spring stripped from them. And more, I would say at this point, it was disappointing to not be able to compete in the spring. But for our fall sport athletes, especially the ones that were impacted in the spring, they're just missing time with each other. I will be happy with anything this fall that allows us to practice safely, to be able to enjoy each other's company, to be able to be building towards our future, right? So even if competition looks differently, the work still needs to be done to be a successful team in the future. I think that's something we've always done well, being able to look forward as a program, but that is harder right now when we're not together. So even if competition is drastically different, I will personally value just being able to work with our student athletes in a more formal way than we have, recently.
Yeah, I think, like you said, it's going to, maybe even for the next few years, things are going to look a little different sports-wise in, the entire world. It's just going to be different, and, people adjust, but it's just not going to be how it was before. And, we've been in wait and see mode for, since May, everybody's trying to figure everything out, the health and safety, number one, and then everything behind that. So it's just pretty interesting.
Absolutely. And, we love being a competitive program. We work very hard, but at the end of the day, I do this because I enjoy working with people. And I definitely just miss that connection and being able to help people through good times, through bad times, whatever. That's something that's the most important to me and why I love coaching Division III athletics. So, that's what I cherish the most. And I hope we can feel some sense of normalcy in that way. Even if competition is different, even if practice has to look a little different, can we still make meaningful connections? Can we still build, fitness while working towards the future? Can we still teach our younger people, what our ethos is as a team, how we want to work together? Because we do a lot of intentional mental training with our athletes. So just being able to get in some type of routine, I think would be an awesome experience. And that's what I'm hopeful for.
Yeah. So if we do have, a somewhat normal season, what do you think it's going to look like on both the men's and the women's side?
That's a great question for sure. I would say flexibility is going to be the name of the game in terms of we've heard different things about blanket waivers, and we don't even know how many times we'd be competing. In cross country, you typically only compete every other week. And since we only start in mid-September, there might be as little as 4 competitions this fall for us, right? So I'm really not going to get too tunnel vision on what our team goals are or anything like that until we have more clarity as to what our season will look like. I can tell you I've been super excited about our men's team. We have a really good class coming in. My freshman class last year was probably the best class I've ever brought in. And usually from freshman to sophomore year, there's some good development in college as we acclimate to the 8K distance instead of the 5K in high school. So I love the spirit of the men's team. 4th place at the conference meet, that's not something that people see and they almost won. That's amazing. But we compete against 18 teams in our conference. I feel like we've had teams that are more talented than the team we had last year. But last year's team really pulled together. We were beaten by many teams throughout the season that at our conference meet, we were able to turn the tables on them. So these guys work really hard for each other. They care about each other. And I really feel like they were dialed into wanting to be successful. So I am excited to see, what the depth of our men's team can do. We do lose a couple of key seniors, but at the same time, the talent in our youth is tremendous. And like I said, I believe just the growth we're going to see there is going to be awesome. So if we have some type of smaller meets throughout the fall, I do think my men's team is going to be really good. Or at least in the very least, they're going to be competitive against just about the majority of the other teams in the conference is what I foresee. Women's team, we graduate Kate, we graduate Julia Brewer. Like I said, I did not have a huge class coming in of longer distance athletes. So I do have some really good athletes that are kind of waiting in the wings I think my rising junior class is ready to turn some heads. My freshmen last year were tremendous right off the bat. Julia Rosinski just missed all conference. Abby Brown, before she hurt her ankle stepping on a walnut, was our steady number 5 the first half of the season. There's some really good talent in there and great kids working hard. So I want to see how that shakes out. I do want to see what implications have to do with NCAA eligibility, with Carrie being the returning conference champ and Lauren knowing that they're physical therapy and they have an outdoor track season, the following year. That didn't happen this past year. Just want to make sure we're doing the right things for our program to be competitive, in a more normal season moving forward, right? So I would say my personal goals this year for our fall are to continue to grow our younger athletes, to enjoy each other's company as best as we possibly can, right? And I feel like we'll be blessed to be able to share company, right? Where that kind of got taken away very quickly in the spring for us as a team. I don't think anybody will take that for granted this fall, whatever we have. But we also want to make sure that we're not wasting anybody's eligibility for a shortened season where they could have a better go. And with Carrie and Lauren going to nationals last year, and them having remaining eligibility, we just want to make sure we're being respectful of their experience as well. So a lot's probably up in the air, but I'm really excited. I love the kids on our team right now. Just a men's and women's team last year, I would say out of the 13 years I've coached, it was probably one of the best feeling seasons at the end of the year. I just knew we put the work into the year that we could. And I felt really good, especially at our conference meet, about our teams just showing up. It's hard being a coach of both genders because it's almost impossible for everything to go perfectly on the day, and win-loss records are a little different when you're competing against 18 teams and not one-on-one, right? You could have a bad day still when you're going to be, all right, we have some takeaways. That's good.
Yeah.
We'll move forward. For us, as a distance coach, you always have these kind of conflicting feelings when you end a day. But I did not have that last fall. I felt so good coming off our conference meet. Just really proud of everybody's effort. So I just want our younger kids, our new kids, to come into the program and get a feel for what the expectations are, but also to feel the care, of the upperclassmen. We've got some great captains. I know I'm kind of running on a little bit. I apologize, but
Okay.
I'm just excited for what might be, and just to be able to start working with and guiding our newer people and have them, feel the power that it is to be on our team. So that's what I'm most excited about.
Yeah, like you said, there's a lot of unknowns, and we're still seeking that clarity. But everybody's in the same boat, and it all depends on how everybody adjusts, and how coaches get their student athletes ready for the upcoming year. Everybody's going to be different, but I think you got a good stranglehold on what it means to be a coach, especially during these crazy times. So.
Yeah, I would. What's been nice this summer is usually over the summer. I've worked with my athletes since mid-August through mid-May, and everybody just needs a little bit of a break. But I've, just been lots of, text messages, phone calls, stuff like that for my athletes. Honestly, just wanting to connect and touch base, and it's been really nice. And it's my birthday the other day, and I heard from so many student athletes. It's nice. Actually, I'm feeling more connected this summer than I have in previous summers, and I think we all kind of need that. So. Yeah, it's going quickly for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't believe it's already mid-July. It feels like it was just the middle of May.
Absolutely.
So. Hey, well, James, I want to thank you for coming on. I really appreciate it, and hope you enjoy the rest of your summer, and hope we can see each other in person soon, and hopefully get this fall 2020 season going.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me, Mike. I appreciate it.
All right, no problem. See you. Thank you to James O'Brien for joining us on episode 5 of the Dutchmen Discussions, and thank you to everybody for tuning in. We'll be back later this week with more episodes, so we hope you guys stay tuned. Hope everybody stays safe, and go Dutchmen.